Alex had always thought his life was ordinary. He worked at a small post office in a quiet town, delivering letters and packages day after day. The most excitement he ever experienced was when a new neighbor moved in, or a dog barked too loudly at him. That was until the day the intergalactic mail program assigned an alien courier to his neighborhood. The first time Alex saw Ziri, he froze. The alien floated lightly above the ground, its translucent skin glowing in faint shades of blue and green. Long, slender limbs moved with elegance, yet there was something undeniably chaotic in its energy. Ziri carried a satchel full of packages that seemed too small to hold so much weight, and its large, intelligent eyes scanned the environment with constant curiosity. Alex had read about aliens working alongside humans, but seeing one in his own town was something else entirely. At first, Alex tried to ignore it. After all, he had work to do, and Ziri was just another courier, albeit a very unusual one. But it didn't take long for him to realize that Ziri was different in more ways than one. The alien species was in the middle of mating season, a period when energy levels soared and rituals became unavoidable. Even standing still for a moment seemed impossible for Ziri. It twirled, hummed, and left trails of glowing particles wherever it moved. Mailboxes vibrated, and occasionally the letters inside seemed to rearrange themselves. Alex frowned as he approached his own house, noticing a small pile of letters glowing faintly on the doorstep. "Hey," Alex called, waving at Ziri. Did you deliver these?" Ziri stopped abruptly and tilted its head, examining him. A soft chime-like sound escaped from its throat. Alex had no idea if that was a greeting, a question, or a warning. He carefully picked up the letters, but a small puff of shimmering dust tickled his nose. He sneezed, and Ziri emitted another series of strange, high-pitched tones. Alex waved his hands in front of his face, trying to clear the glittering residue. "This is going to be interesting," he muttered to himself. Over the next few days, Alex's life became less ordinary. Ziri's rituals grew more pronounced. Packages arrived in odd arrangements. Some stacked into miniature towers, others scattered in spirals on the ground. At first, neighbors were concerned. "What is that glowing thing doing at our mailboxes?" Mrs. Henderson asked, pointing at the glowing trails Ziri left behind. "Is it safe?" Alex assured her it was harmless, but deep down, he was beginning to question his own understanding of the universe. Ziri's movements were erratic, yet there was intelligence in every gesture. It observed humans with fascination, sometimes mimicking their actions but always adding a strange, unpredictable twist. One morning, Alex found Ziri attempting to balance a stack of packages on top of a lamppost while humming in its alien language. When Alex approached, Ziri froze and floated in midair, tilting its head. "I don't think I can ever fully understand you," Alex said, a mix of exasperation and amusement in his voice. Ziri's response was a series of melodic tones that seemed almost like laughter. Alex shook his head, smiling despite himself. There was no way he could predict what this alien would do next. It wasn't just the chaos that caught Alex off guard. There was something oddly charming about Ziri. Even with the glowing dust and the unpredictable antics, Alex couldn't help but notice the alien's curiosity and intelligence. Ziri studied the smallest details. How a bird landed on a mailbox, how a package teetered on the edge of a doorstep, and even how Alex reacted to every unexpected movement. The alien seemed to be learning, observing, and adapting in ways that humans rarely did. One afternoon, Alex found himself talking to Ziri while delivering mail. "You know," he said, balancing a package in his hands, "you might be the most confusing thing I've ever met. But I think you might also be smart enough to understand humans better than we understand ourselves." Ziri paused, then floated closer. Its glowing skin pulsed gently as if acknowledging Alex's words. The alien reached out one of its delicate, translucent limbs and gently tapped the package. Alex laughed nervously. "Yeah, I know. I didn't mean that literally." Despite the early chaos, Alex began to notice a strange rhythm to Ziri's actions. There was method behind the madness, patterns hidden in the randomness. And while the neighborhood endured odd deliveries and glowing trails, Alex felt a sense of excitement he had never experienced before. Life was no longer dull. For the first time, he realized that humans weren't just observers in the galaxy. They could interact with other species, learn from them, and even find ways to coexist peacefully. By the end of the week, Alex had accepted that his routine was gone. Letters might glow, Packages might dance and neighbors might whisper about the strange alien in their midst. But life had become far more interesting. Scifi, with its endless energy and peculiar customs, had turned his quiet town into a small hub of galactic curiosity. Alex sighed, picking up another glowing letter. "Well," he said, glancing at Scifi, "if this is what intergalactic mail looks like, I think I'm going to need more than coffee to survive." And with that, Scifi floated past him, humming a strange tune, leaving behind a trail of sparkling light, and the promise that life would never be ordinary again. Alex woke up to the sound of strange humming outside his window. Groaning, he rubbed his eyes and looked out. Scifi was already at work, floating above the street, its translucent limbs moving in a blur of energy. Small packets of mail hovered beside it, trailing tiny sparks of light. Even early in the morning, Scifi's mating season energy seemed unstoppable. Alex got dressed quickly and stepped outside. "Good morning," he said cautiously, waving. Scifi turned toward him, a soft chime of acknowledgement echoing through the quiet street. Then, without warning, it zoomed past him and began performing what looked like an elaborate aerial dance around the mailbox clusters. Alex sighed. He had hoped this morning would be calm, but calm was clearly a concept Scifi did not understand. The first delivery was for Mr. Thompson, the elderly man who lived 3 houses down. As Alex carried the package toward the porch, he noticed Scifi hovering nearby, leaving a trail of glittering dust that made the flowers in Mr. Thompson's yard sway, as if they were alive. "I swear this alien is going to get me arrested one day," Alex muttered under his breath. Mr. Thompson opened the door just in time to see a small bundle of mail twirl around the front yard and land neatly in his hands. "Well, I'll be," he said, chuckling. "That is one fancy mail service. And look at those lights. Pretty, aren't they?" Alex gave a half smile. "Yeah. Fancy and unpredictable." By mid-morning, the effects of Scifi's mating season were becoming more noticeable. Pets in the neighborhood were unusually energetic. Dogs barked at glowing trails. Cats chased hovering dust particles, and even the birds seemed to follow Scifi's movements with intense interest. Alex tried to maintain some order, but every time he turned a corner he found another batch of packages in unusual patterns or glowing dust sparkling on the ground. "Alex," shouted Mrs. Henderson, stepping out of her front door. "Your alien friend is at it again. My roses are dancing." Alex hurried over and found Scifi spinning in the air above the garden. The roses indeed seemed to lean toward the alien as if drawn by invisible strings. "It's part of its rituals," Alex explained to the neighbor, waving his hands at the glittering display. "Completely harmless, I promise." Mrs. Henderson squinted but finally nodded. "Harmless, huh? Well, I suppose I can get used to harmless." Despite the chaos, Alex was beginning to notice a pattern in Scifi's actions. The alien wasn't just moving randomly. It was studying the neighborhood. It seemed fascinated by human behavior, observing how people reacted to small surprises and testing their patience in subtle ways. Alex realized that Scifi's mating season might be chaotic, but it was also a form of learning. Later that afternoon, Alex attempted to help Scifi with a tricky delivery. A package meant for a house at the far end of the street had gotten stuck mid-air, hovering dangerously near a tree branch. Scifi floated around it, humming in complex patterns, but it wasn't making progress. Alex stepped in, gently nudging the package toward the porch. Scifi tilted its head and emitted a low chime of approval. "You're learning fast," Alex said with a grin. "I guess humans aren't completely useless after all." Scifi responded with a series of melodic tones that sounded almost like laughter. Alex laughed too. Despite the challenges, he was starting to enjoy the alien's presence. There was a strange kind of excitement in seeing things from Scifi's perspective, and Alex felt a sense of pride knowing he could help the alien navigate human customs. By evening, the neighborhood had settled into a cautious calm. Scifi had finished most deliveries, though the glowing dust still lingered in sparkling trails along the sidewalks. Alex leaned against his porch railing, exhausted but smiling. "You know, Scifi," he said quietly, "this is a lot more work than I expected. But I think it's also kind of amazing." Scifi floated down to the railing, its glowing form pulsing softly. It emitted a gentle hum that seemed like agreement. Alex realized something important. Despite the chaos and confusion, humans had an ability to adapt that was extraordinary. Even in the presence of an alien with completely alien customs, Humans could find solutions, negotiate, and maintain calm in the middle of chaos. That night, as Alex prepared for bed, he thought about how his life had changed in just a few days. Before, he had believed the universe was vast and intimidating, and humans were small players with little impact. But Ziri's presence had shown him that humans could be clever, patient, and inventive, even in situations that seemed impossible. Alex smiled as he closed his eyes. He knew this was only the beginning. Ziri's mating season would continue and the chaos would grow. But he also knew that humans had something special, the ability to adapt, to learn, and to interact with creatures far beyond their own species. As the last glow of Ziri's dust faded from the street, Alex drifted off to sleep feeling both exhausted and alive. For the first time in a long time, he looked forward to tomorrow, wondering what new challenge or new surprise Ziri would bring. And deep down, Alex realized something else. Life with an alien mail carrier in mating season might be chaotic, unpredictable, and exhausting. But it was also extraordinary, and he wouldn't trade it for anything in the galaxy. Alex had barely finished breakfast when he heard the familiar humming outside. Ziri was already in motion, spiraling gracefully above the street like a living comet. Today, however, the alien's energy seemed different, more intense, more deliberate. It wasn't just delivering mail anymore. It was performing some kind of ritual. Alex stepped outside cautiously. "Ziri, what's going on today?" he called, holding a package in his hands. Ziri paused mid-air, tilted its head, and let out a sequence of musical tones. Alex frowned. He had no idea what the alien was saying, but the gestures suggested it wanted him to follow. Curious and slightly nervous, Alex trailed behind as Ziri floated toward the Johnsons' house. As he watched, he noticed the alien arranging small objects along the sidewalk. Tiny rocks, fallen leaves, and colorful bits of packaging. Each placement seemed deliberate, forming spirals and patterns Alex could barely comprehend. "What is this for?" he asked, unsure if he wanted the answer. Ziri hummed again, then tapped one of the spirals with a slender limb. The pattern shimmered faintly as if acknowledging the touch. Alex realized, with a mixture of awe and concern, that Ziri was not just delivering mail. It was performing part of its mating ritual. He swallowed. "So, I'm involved in your... whatever this is?" The alien's eyes seemed to widen in understanding, or maybe surprise. It floated closer, emitting a soft, melodic tone. Alex took a step back, unsure if he had just said something offensive. Over the next hour, Alex discovered just how complicated Ziri's customs were. The ritual required attention to detail, timing, and subtle gestures. Every package had to be moved in a certain way, each piece of debris placed with precision and every motion accompanied by humming in a language humans could not understand. When Alex tried to help, Ziri reacted with a mix of curiosity and alarm. Sometimes it allowed him to adjust objects, other times it hovered protectively over the patterns. Alex realized he had to learn quickly. Mistakes could disrupt the ritual entirely. Using patience, observation, and trial and error, he began to understand some of the alien's intentions. He noticed that Ziri responded positively when he mirrored its movements, matched the rhythm of its hums, or gently placed objects in specific locations. Slowly, a form of communication developed, not through words but through gestures, timing, and shared focus. Despite the challenges, Alex found himself enjoying the process. There was a strange satisfaction in being part of something so completely alien. It was chaotic, yes, and exhausting, but also exhilarating. He could feel his mind stretching, learning to think in ways he had never considered. At one point, Ziri paused, hovering just above the final spiral it had arranged. Alex stood a few feet away, unsure if he should move closer. The alien's glowing form pulsed softly, and the surrounding objects shimmered as though in response. Alex held his breath. This moment, he realized, was both delicate and important. One wrong step could undo hours of effort. Carefully, he extended a hand and lightly adjusted a small leaf in the spiral. Ziri tilted its head, emitted a long, harmonious tone, and then floated in a gentle spin that seemed like applause. Alex laughed softly. "Okay, I think I'm getting the hang of it," he said. By midday, the ritual was complete. Ziri's patterns glowed with a faint, beautiful light, and the humming shifted to a slower, satisfied rhythm. Alex stepped back and admired the alien's work. It was mesmerizing, intricate, and utterly unlike anything he had seen before. "You know," Alex said, wiping sweat from his brow, "humans might be clumsy, but we can learn fast when it matters." Ziri seemed to respond with a short melodic trill. Alex took it as agreement. For the first time, he truly understood a little of Ziri's perspective. The alien wasn't reckless. It was precise, intelligent, and deeply attuned to its own customs. Humans could only appreciate it if they paid attention, adapted quickly, and respected the unfamiliar. The neighbors, who had been watching from behind curtains and fences, slowly began to emerge. "That's actually beautiful," Mrs. Henderson whispered. "And look at Alex, he's..." "Helping?" Alex waved awkwardly. "Yeah, helping, sort of. It's complicated." By evening, the energy in the neighborhood began to settle. Ziri floated down near Alex's porch, pulsing softly in a gentle glow. It emitted a sequence of tones that Alex interpreted as thanks. He smiled, feeling a quiet sense of pride. Today he hadn't just delivered mail. He had navigated an alien culture, respected its rituals, and contributed to something extraordinary. As Alex watched Ziri finally rest, he realized something important. Humans had a unique ability to adapt, to observe, to learn, even in situations that seemed impossible. While Ziri's customs were foreign, Alex's patience, curiosity, and problem-solving skills allowed him to participate successfully. He felt a new sense of confidence. If humans could handle an alien mating ritual, maybe there was nothing in the galaxy they couldn't face. Later, as he prepared for bed, Alex thought about the day. His life was no longer simple or predictable. It was strange, chaotic, and sometimes exhausting, but it was also richer and fuller than he had ever imagined. Ziri's presence reminded him that humans had something remarkable, the ability to understand, adapt, and find order in the unknown. Of light caused flowers to bloom faster, and birds hovered closer, intrigued by the shimmer. Even the neighborhood cats and dogs moved differently, curious but calm, drawn to the strange yet harmless spectacle. Alex scratched his head. "I guess your rituals have effects," he said. Ziri tilted its head and emitted a soft melodic trill. Alex laughed. "Yeah, effects. Positive ones, I think." As he went about delivering his own letters, Alex began to see more of the consequences. Mr. Thompson's backyard had transformed into a tiny wonderland of flowers and plants glowing faintly in the morning sun. Children in the neighborhood were fascinated, carefully following the sparkling paths while their parents watched in amusement. It was clear that Ziri's mating rituals weren't just about the alien. They were creating unexpected beauty and excitement for everyone. However, there were challenges. Packages sometimes still drifted off course, and the shimmering trails occasionally made it difficult to spot where mail had landed. Alex found himself running around more than usual, carefully retrieving items and redirecting them. Still, he couldn't deny that something extraordinary was happening. The chaos had a strange charm, and despite the extra work, Alex found himself smiling more than he had in weeks. By mid-afternoon, a small crowd had gathered near the Johnsons' house. Ziri hovered above the yard, performing a new sequence of gestures, arranging objects in spirals and patterns that glimmered faintly in the sunlight. Alex noticed that the patterns seemed to react to human presence. The objects adjusted subtly as people moved closer or farther away. "Look at that," Mrs. Henderson said, pointing. "It's alive somehow," Alex nodded. "I think it's trying to communicate. Or maybe just share something. It's amazing, really, and completely unlike anything I've seen before." He realized that Ziri's mating season, chaotic as it was, revealed something unique about humans as well. Observing the aliens' rituals required patience, attention, and problem-solving. Humans had the ability to step into unfamiliar situations, figure out patterns, and interact with completely unknown beings without causing harm. Today he was reminded that humans weren't helpless or unremarkable. They could adapt, think creatively, and respond with intelligence in ways that even some advanced aliens might not expect. As the day progressed, Alex noticed small but fascinating consequences. The neighborhood plants seemed more vibrant, children laughed more freely while exploring the glowing paths, and even the adults felt lighter, their moods lifted by the gentle glow and harmonic hums. Ziri's rituals were producing positive energy, not just for the alien but for everyone around. Alex realized that sometimes chaos could bring unexpected benefits. When he returned home later, Alex sat on his porch and observed Ziri hovering nearby. The alien's energy had slowed slightly, and its glowing pulses were soft and calming. Alex felt a sense of peace despite the unpredictability of the day. Ziri was teaching him lessons about patience, adaptability, and the subtle beauty hidden in seemingly chaotic actions. Humans could notice, appreciate, and even participate in that beauty, bridging gaps between species and cultures. Alex reached over and gently adjusted one of the glowing patterns Ziri had created near his front yard. The alien emitted a series of melodic tones which Alex interpreted as approval. He realized that despite Ziri's alien customs, humans could connect in meaningful ways, through observation, understanding, and respect. It was a small but important victory, showing that humans could not only survive but thrive in encounters with truly alien beings. That evening, as the sun began to set, Alex walked through the neighborhood one last time. The sparkling trails of light from Ziri's rituals reflected softly in the evening glow. Neighbors were chatting excitedly about the changes, sharing stories of unexpected blooms, playful animals, and curious children exploring the magical streets. Alex felt proud, not of himself alone, but of the way humans had engaged with something completely unfamiliar, demonstrating adaptability, creativity, and empathy. Back on his porch, Alex took a deep breath. Life had changed dramatically in just a few days. What had started as chaos now carried beauty, curiosity, and a new sense of wonder. Humans, he realized, weren't just passengers in the galaxy. They had a special ability to interact with other species, learn from them, and even help create something extraordinary. Ziri floated closer, pulsing gently as if sensing Alex's thoughts. The alien's presence was no longer just chaotic. It was comforting, familiar, and inspiring. Alex smiled. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more surprises, and perhaps even more changes to the neighborhood. But he was ready. Humans had something extraordinary, the ability to adapt, understand, and create harmony even in the most unusual circumstances. And in that quiet moment, Alex knew that life with an alien in mating season might always be unpredictable, but it was also full of possibility, wonder, and the kind of excitement he had never imagined before. The morning sun had barely risen when Alex noticed that Ziri's energy was even more intense than usual. The alien floated above the street, glowing with a radiant light that pulsed in rhythm with its humming. Alex could sense that today was different. Ziri's mating season had reached a peak, and the rituals were becoming more elaborate, more urgent. Alex grabbed his mailbag and hurried outside. "Ziri, are you okay?" he called, keeping a careful distance. The alien paused mid-air, tilted its head, and emitted a series of melodic tones that vibrated through the quiet street. Alex couldn't tell if it was a greeting, a warning, or an announcement of the chaos to come. By mid-morning, the neighborhood was buzzing with activity. Ziri was performing a complex ritual that involved not only arranging packages and objects in intricate patterns, but also creating small, glowing orbs of light that floated above the sidewalks. These orbs pulsed and shimmered, casting strange shadows across the yards and driveways. Children watched in awe, their faces lit by the gentle glow, while adults exchanged curious and bewildered glances. Alex realized immediately that this ritual could get out of hand. If one orb drifted too close to a tree or a parked car, it might knock something over, or worse, get lost entirely. He knew he had to act quickly but carefully to help Ziri complete the ritual without causing harm. "Okay," Alex muttered to himself. "Time to think like a human. Fast." He began by observing Ziri's movements, noting the timing and rhythm of its humming, and matching his actions accordingly. Whenever an orb floated too close to a tree branch, Alex gently guided it away. When a package teetered at the edge of a porch, he steadied it with careful hands. Ziri paused occasionally to watch him, tilting its head as if evaluating his understanding. Hours passed in a blur of movement and concentration. Alex found himself moving faster and more precisely than ever before. He had never imagined that delivering mail could require so much focus and strategy, but today every action mattered. Ziri's mating season had transformed a simple street into a dynamic puzzle, and humans, he realized, were uniquely capable of navigating it. At one point, Ziri hovered above a cluster of glowing orbs, its translucent limbs moving in complex patterns. Alex noticed that one orb had begun to drift toward a group of children watching from the sidewalk. Thinking quickly, he intercepted it and guided it gently back to the designated area. Ziri's hum shifted to a higher melodic pitch and its glow pulsed brightly. Alex smiled. "I think that means good job," he whispered. The neighbors, now fully aware of the ritual, began to watch from a safe distance. "Look at him," Mrs. Henderson exclaimed. "He's helping the alien, and doing it perfectly." Alex nodded, feeling a strange mixture of pride and exhaustion. Humans had a special quality, he realized, the ability to observe, understand, and respond to challenges in ways that others, even advanced aliens, might not expect. Today he was proof of that. By late afternoon, the ritual approached its climax. Ziri's glowing orbs floated into carefully arranged spirals, and the packages formed a shimmering pathway that stretched down the street. Alex stood back, exhausted but focused. This was the final stage, and he knew one mistake could undo hours of work. Taking a deep breath, he mirrored Ziri's movements, carefully adjusting each orb and package with precision. The alien floated close, emitting a low, harmonious hum that resonated through Alex's chest. He realized that Sci-Fi wasn't just performing the ritual. It was teaching him patience, observation, and the value of steady, thoughtful action. Finally, the last orb floated into place, and Ziri hovered above the completed pattern. The glow of the objects intensified, filling the street with soft, radiant light. Alex stepped back, wiping sweat from his forehead. He had never felt more accomplished in his life. Ziri pulsed its glow rhythmically, emitting a melodic tone that Alex interpreted as satisfaction, or perhaps gratitude. The alien's rituals were complete, and the neighborhood had survived unscathed. Children clapped, adults cheered quietly, and even the pets seemed to recognize that something extraordinary had just occurred. Alex looked around and realized something important. Humans had a unique ability to adapt, solve problems, and participate in complex situations, even those far beyond their own experience. Ziri's mating season, chaotic and unpredictable as it was, had allowed him to see that human ingenuity and patience were qualities that could make a real difference, even in a galaxy filled with intelligent life. As the evening approached, Ziri floated down near Alex's porch, glowing softly and pulsing with a calm energy. Alex smiled, feeling a quiet bond forming between them. Despite the chaos, the confusion, and the energy, he had helped an alien complete a complex cultural ritual, and in doing so he had discovered something remarkable about humans and about himself. Tomorrow, he knew, would bring new challenges, perhaps even greater chaos. But today had proven that humans were capable of extraordinary things. Patience, intelligence, creativity, and adaptability were not just traits. They were tools that could turn confusion into achievement, disorder into beauty. Alex sat on his porch, watching Ziri hover peacefully. He felt tired, exhilarated, and proud all at once. Life with an alien in mating season was unpredictable and exhausting, but it was also full of wonder, discovery, and the kind of experiences that could only happen when humans dared to engage with the unknown. Standing and connection. Ziri's mating season had shown him the challenges and unpredictability of the alien world, but now there was a chance to communicate more clearly, to build trust and respect between species. "Do you want me to help with anything today?" Alex asked, though he wasn't sure the alien understood. Ziri drifted closer and tapped one of the packages gently with a slender limb. The glow intensified briefly, as if acknowledging the offer. Alex smiled. He didn't need words to understand that Ziri appreciated his willingness to participate. Throughout the morning, Alex noticed subtle changes in the neighborhood. Pets were calmer. Children moved carefully around the faintly glowing patterns, and even adults seemed more relaxed and curious. It was clear that Ziri's presence had a gentle influence, not just on objects but on people and the environment. Humans, Alex thought, had an unusual ability to notice and respond to these small details, to adapt to new circumstances without panic or fear. As he helped Ziri arrange packages and objects in simpler patterns, Alex reflected on the lessons of the past few days. Humans had patience, intelligence, and a sense of observation that allowed them to interact successfully with beings far different from themselves. Ziri's mating rituals had been complex and confusing, but they had revealed something about humans, the capacity to learn quickly, to cooperate, and to create order in the midst of chaos. By midday, Alex and Ziri had developed a rhythm. He could anticipate the alien's gestures, and Ziri seemed to understand his movements as well. It was a silent dance of mutual respect. Alex adjusted a small glowing orb, and Ziri responded with a melodic trill. He smiled. They were communicating without words, learning from one another and enjoying the process. Neighbors began to notice the shift as well. "They make a good team," Mrs. Henderson said, observing from her porch. "The alien and the human, it's fascinating to watch," Alex nodded. He realized she was right. Humans weren't just passive observers in the galaxy. They had creativity, empathy, and adaptability. Even in a world filled with beings far more advanced in certain ways, humans could contribute, assist, and make a meaningful difference. His small acts of adjustment and guidance had helped Ziri complete a complex ritual safely. That was something to be proud of. By late afternoon, the glowing objects had settled into neat, simple formations. The chaos of the past few days had given way to calm and harmony. Ziri floated near Alex, pulsing softly. Alex reached out and adjusted a tiny object in the arrangement. Ziri responded with a series of musical tones that Alex interpreted as a kind of thanks. He felt a warmth in his chest. It wasn't just the satisfaction of helping Ziri complete its rituals. It was the understanding that humans had a remarkable capacity to build trust, solve problems, and create harmony, even with creatures completely unlike themselves. That realization gave him confidence. Humans were small in the galaxy, but they were powerful in ways that mattered, through intelligence, observation, empathy, and patience. As evening approached, Alex sat on his porch and watched Ziri hover nearby. The alien's glow had softened, and its energy seemed calm, almost reflective. He realized that a bond had formed between them, not just because of shared work, but because of shared respect and understanding. Humans could engage with the unknown, and in doing so, create connection and friendship. Alex sighed, smiling. Life with Ziri might always be unpredictable, but it was also full of learning, laughter, and small, extraordinary moments. He knew that tomorrow would bring more surprises, but he was ready. Humans had the tools to navigate the unexpected, to turn confusion into achievement, and to find harmony even in the most unusual situations. As night fell, Alex watched the faint glow of the remaining objects fade. Ziri pulsed one last time near him, as if acknowledging the day's shared effort. Alex waved gently, feeling proud and hopeful. Their relationship had shifted from chaos to mutual respect, and he knew that humans could thrive in any situation, especially when they approached the unknown with patience, intelligence, and an open mind. He went inside feeling a sense of calm and fulfillment. Humans were not just survivors. They were problem solvers, collaborators, and explorers. And in the quiet glow of an alien's presence, Alex felt the truth of that more strongly than ever. Life with Ziri was no longer just a challenge. It was a chance to witness and participate in something extraordinary. For the first time, Alex truly believed that humans could make a difference, not by strength alone, but by cleverness, empathy, and the willingness to understand. And with Ziri as his unexpected companion, he knew that the future held endless possibilities. The morning sun spilled over the quiet neighborhood, casting a soft, golden glow across the streets. Alex stepped outside, stretching and taking a deep breath. The days with Ziri had been a whirlwind of energy, chaos, and discovery. But now there was a sense of calm. The alien hovered above the mailbox cluster, glowing faintly, and Alex noticed that its movements were more measured, less frantic. "Morning, Ziri," he said, smiling. The alien tilted its head and pulsed gently, a series of melodic tones echoing faintly. Alex had long since stopped trying to interpret every sound literally. He had learned to read the subtle cues, the patterns in the glow and movement, and understand Ziri's moods and intentions. Today felt different. There was no urgent ritual, no spiraling packages or floating orbs. The mating season was winding down, and with it, the high-energy chaos that had dominated the past week. But Alex noticed something remarkable. The neighborhood still bore traces of Ziri's presence. Flowers leaned toward the light in gentle arcs. The grass was lush and green, and the children were exploring with curiosity, sparked by the lingering shimmer of the alien's earlier activities. As Alex delivered the first batch of mail, he reflected on how much had changed. What had started as confusion, frustration, and chaos had transformed into learning, adaptation, and even beauty. Humans, he realized, had a unique ability to navigate the unknown, to observe, understand, and respond thoughtfully, even in situations completely beyond their experience. That insight felt like a quiet victory, one that no glowing trail or floating orb could fully capture. By mid-morning, Scifi began its usual rounds, delivering mail with a calm grace. Alex followed along, offering help when needed, adjusting packages or guiding floating objects gently into place. But today, the alien seemed to respond differently. It moved with purpose but also with a sense of trust. Scifi allowed Alex to participate fully, as if acknowledging his efforts over the past week. There was a mutual understanding now, an unspoken bond between species. The neighbors noticed the change too. "Look at them," Mrs. Henderson said quietly to Mr. Thompson, watching Alex and Scifi work together. "It's like they understand each other. Completely." Alex smiled at the observation. She was right. Scifi's energy was still extraordinary, still otherworldly, but it was no longer chaotic or unpredictable in the way it had been. The alien had learned to include him, to allow him to participate, and in doing so, Alex had discovered something fundamental about humans. Even in the face of the alien and unknown, humans could create order, solve problems, and build meaningful connections. By afternoon, the final packages had been delivered, and the neighborhood returned to its peaceful rhythm. Scifi hovered above, Alex's porch pulsing softly, and for a moment neither moved. Alex looked at the glowing alien and felt a deep sense of pride. He had helped guide a creature through one of the most intense periods of its life. In doing so, he had proven that humans could adapt, communicate, and contribute in ways that mattered. "Not bad for a human," Alex said quietly, half to himself and half to Scifi. The alien emitted a series of gentle tones, and its glow pulsed in a slow, satisfying rhythm. It was acknowledgement, appreciation, and perhaps even friendship, all rolled into one. Alex felt a warmth spread through him. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the streets, Alex walked slowly through the neighborhood. He noticed the lingering effects of Scifi's presence, flowers leaning toward soft glows, grass still brighter than before, children quietly exploring the shimmering paths. There was beauty in the aftermath, a reminder that even in chaos humans could find harmony, balance, and understanding. Scifi floated alongside him as he walked, occasionally adjusting a floating package or nudging a small orb back into place. Alex realized that while the mating season was ending, their relationship was only beginning. Humans had a way of learning, adapting, and building trust that could bridge even the vastest gaps between species. Scifi had shown him the alien's world, and he had shown Scifi the human ability to understand, assist, and adapt. By evening, Alex returned to his porch and watched as Scifi settled nearby. The alien's glow was gentle, rhythmic, almost soothing. He thought about the past week, the chaos, the confusion, the challenges, and the lessons. Humans had a remarkable capacity for patience, problem-solving, and empathy. Even in the most unpredictable circumstances, they could find solutions, build trust, and create harmony. Alex smiled as he sat down. Life with Scifi would continue to be unusual, unpredictable, and sometimes exhausting, but it was also rich with opportunity, learning, and unexpected beauty. Humans had proven they could thrive, even alongside creatures whose ways were entirely alien. As darkness fell and stars began to shine, Alex looked up at Scifi. "We did it," he said softly. "We made it through." The alien pulsed once, gently, and hovered closer, its presence warm and comforting. Alex felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had discovered something extraordinary, not just about Scifi or the alien world, but about humans themselves. Ingenuity, patience, creativity, and empathy were tools that allowed humans to navigate the Unknown. Adapt to challenges and build meaningful connections. He leaned back on the porch and watched the night settle over the neighborhood. Tomorrow might bring new surprises, new challenges, or even new chaos. But Alex knew humans were ready. They had a unique place in the galaxy, one defined not by power alone but by intelligence, understanding, and the ability to turn the unknown into opportunity. Ziri pulsed softly nearby, a steady, reassuring glow. Alex smiled, feeling the bond between them grow stronger. Life with an alien mail carrier in mating season had been chaotic, exhausting, and sometimes baffling, but it had also revealed the remarkable qualities of humans. And as Alex watched the stars appear, twinkling above the calm neighborhood, he knew one thing for certain. The universe was vast, full of surprises, and humans had everything it took to not just survive, but to thrive, learn, and shine brightly among the stars.